Let's talk about the transfer portal now a little bit and the recruiting side of things. What'd you think about the class of freshmen?
Yeah, love it. I love how they attack certain positions. Tight end, I thought was a telltale sign of what's to come. When you look at how heavily they went, you go get 2 tight ends that both have multiple functionality, where they can run and where they can, block and catch the ball. I think that just tells you, that's like reading the tea leaves, that Colorado's planning on running the ball this year. You look at where some of the other places that they focus, that you wanted to get somebody who could help you in the return game. You got some guys who are just like physically freaky. When you look at the offensive linemen, the type of guys they had, Carday Smith just got, I believe, the Rivals Award for top performer at the Alabama-Mississippi game. He's another freak athlete on the offensive line. What's my man? Is it Chauncey Gooden?
Chauncey Gooden is a road grader now. He'll move quick.
Yeah, man, and like a supersized dancing panda. Like, as far as the feet that he has with that frame is incredible. So I think with that class, there are pieces, and they're all guys who I feel like have a workman-like work ethic, where they can come into the culture. There's a sense of maturity with them, where they come into the culture, they can basically kind of take the culture in early, and you won't get some of the issues that you have with the average freshman when you're just chasing stars. So I think that they were very pointed and very selective with their class. They didn't take a ton of kids. They took about, what, I think they signed 15, maybe 14, 15?
15.
15 commit.
Take 15. And I think more than anything, when you look at the overall rating, as far as, so a lot of times we look at the rankings based on what was your overall ranking on the class, but volume plays a part in your overall ranking for the class. But I also like to go and look at player average. Now, when you rank Colorado as far as player average, I believe they're top 20, which is a far cry from, I think, in the 30s where they are. So per player, I think they're right in the 89 range, which is teetering on a 4-star range. So if you're averaging 4 stars on a high school level, and then you can supplement that with guys who are former 4 stars and guys who have production at the college level through the transfer portal, I think it's a recipe for success, and I can't wait to see how it pans out.
Let me ask you, of those 14 signees, any highlights or players that you really are excited to see going into next season?
Man, what's my man from North Crawley? Quentin Gibson. Can't wait to see him. Man, his highlight film is so exciting. And me being a smaller guy, I love to see those jitterbugs, those like scat back type, old school, like almost like a Brian Mitchell, if you want to go back to the Redskins, or you want to think about
Brian Mitchell's a bad man.
Man, I'm telling you, man, guys who can do a little bit of everything. You get out the way, put me in space, and let me make somebody miss. When you look at what he was able to do against DeSoto, he basically beat them by himself. And for a guy who at his size, who can play on the perimeter, run every route on the route tree, he can play in the slot, he can catch the ball on jet sweeps, bubbles, and returns. On reverses. I just think that type of functionality is something that can get you on the field fast at Colorado, because if you're a playmaker, you're going to be allowed to make plays, and he'll have a chance to, because if you can't tackle him in practice, you're not going to be able to tackle him on Saturdays. And I think that he's somebody that I'm excited to see.
Now, I'm huge on versatility, Dukes. I was versatile in the trench. I played both ways in the NFL for a lot of years. I think that Coach Prime has a very special eye when it comes to IDing versatile football players. Is this the new wave of the future? I mean, we see it a little bit in the NFL with skilled players that play multiple positions and Deebo Samuel and whatnot. But I think that Travis Hunter is going to pave a new path for guys to do this more. I mean, do you think there's any positions that can't transfer? I mean, why can't the nose tackle play guard and nose tackle the whole game? That'd be fun.
I think, and you can attest to this, I think it's also, there's a capacity level, right? Intellectually, there's a capacity level that you have to have in order to be able to take in. There's a difference between being a package player and a full two-way player. See, a package player, you got your original plays on this one side of the ball, whatever your specialty is, and then you only have to add another 5 or 6 because, that's my package. I know when I come in. But the thing that makes Colorado special with how they use their guys when they go both ways is that you have to be able to take in the entirety of the playbook, so you're not a key or you're not a tendency when we see you in the game. So usually when you see packages, you know what to expect for the most part. Sometimes you'll see a defensive lineman come in as a decoy and they may go play action, but it's usually in a heavy set. So you're not going to put that guy in on a 5 wide. when you have a guy who can truly play both positions, you cannot key in on this guy. So if it's a guy, for example, let's take a guy like Colton Hood. Okay, when you see him on offense, if he can pick up the entire offense, you know how dynamic he is with the ball in his hands. Let's say he was able to pick up the entire offense. When you saw him in the game, you don't have to just key in on jet sweep or tunnel or 9 route. How many times have you seen Travis Hunter run routes outside of those two, either a tunnel, bubble, or 9? You can't key in on him because he can run the entire route, and I think that's important. So versatility is the first step to versatility is going to be intellectual capacity. How much can you take in order to not be a key or to not be a tendency for the defense to key in based on your presence in the game?
Makes sense, man. I'm excited about the future up there.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Well, all right, look, the transfer portal. Let's get into that, Bailey.
Well, yeah, let's go into the transfer portal. Man, there's a lot. I mean, we've discussed several different recruits all week, including Josh Bates, Oklahoma offensive lineman, Phil Lodho coach. He's visiting Colorado early next week, I believe. We also discussed Liberty quarterback transfer Caden Salter. Let me just ask you, of all these portal players who are coming to visit Colorado, who do you find interest in? Who are you excited about, and who do you think Colorado must land?
Man, a guy that I really like that I think is flying under the radar because a lot of people are talking about there may be some holes at linebacker is Debo Atkins. Xavier Atkins from LSU. He's out of Houston by way of Louisiana. Freakish athlete. He goes about 6 feet, but he's one of those guys. We call him like down here we call him like tight skin guys, like where the muscles just kind of pop, like not a lot of skin on them, like
right.
1000% lean, built like a pro wrestler. Lean build, fast as hell, explosive, has a really nasty disposition playing linebacker. Some people like height-wise, he may be a tad undersized, but when I tell you, he packs a wallop and he can run. You don't have to bring him out on third downs. If you can put him at the mic because he understands football, but he's really a freak and a nuisance at the weak side linebacker position. I think he had a really good relationship with Coach Hart before he ended up signing with LSU because he is a Louisiana guy at heart, but from in the last recruiting cycle, he was one of those guys that started out maybe not as a 3-star, not too highly ranked. And the more you saw him play when he moved to Houston, you just saw him making plays in that classification. He played, I believe, out of Humble, Texas, I believe, something like that. But Debo Atkins, his nickname is Debo. That's enough. Anytime I see somebody named Debo, they've been the player. And a guy who I've had extensive experience with when I talk to him. So talked to him a little bit once he let his intentions be known, and the excitement that he had for Colorado was like, bro, like, man, I really like Colorado. I like it fits me. I feel like they understand who I am as a player, and I want to get there and I want to go to work. So Xavier Atkins is somebody who, if the visit goes well, I can see him committing sooner than later.
Oh boy, man, I'll tell you. So, okay, this is my last question, and we'll get you out of here. I know you're a busy man. Make sure you guys all follow Dukes on all the different platforms, all the different shows. I mean, this man is everywhere. What's the limit here, bro? Like, what are we talking here? I mean, the Big 12 is right for the pickings. Texas and Oklahoma are gone. You know, we're back in old stomping grounds. We almost made the conference title game the first year we're back. Arizona State wins it. They're picked last in the conference. They end up winning it. Yeah. I mean, what are we talking? Can Colorado just absolutely dominate this conference for years to come?
Absolutely, and I think you can look at what they're doing in the transfer portal. All right, let's look at the offensive line. I believe you returned 4 starters, right? Okay, yep. But you're recruiting 3 or 4 offensive linemen to come in with what you already have, and you already have decent depth based on last year's transfer portal haul. So when you start recruiting 7 to play 5, now that gets different. Now you're raising the entire level. You're making luxury picks. We're going to bring this guy in to compete, and guys want to come compete because they want to be in this winning culture. It's set up like when you think about when people are starting to transfer out, they can go start at other schools. You didn't see a ton of that last year, but this year you're going to see some starters leave. When you can provide starters to other institutions, now you know you're cooking with grease. So that's what Colorado is starting to build. The same thing that Georgia does. Georgia puts out about 7 to 8 starters across the country every year. So does Bama. You lose starters and who weren't playing for you. So I think this is the same thing that Colorado is building. Imagine the competition that you have in practice. If you can let a guy walk from the portal, you can tell him, thank you for your service. We appreciate you. We hope the best for you. And it's genuine. but there just may not have been an immediate path to playing time here because the guys that we have that we're penciling in or that you'll be competing against that may be blocking your way are really that good. And I think that speaks volumes to how the roster is flipped. I was looking at a video from Jason Whitlock. Sometimes I like to go see what he's
I'm glad you
about.
brought this up because we were going to ask you about this last.
My next question.
Look at this same page.
Yeah. I was looking at Whitlock and he was saying Deion can't be a Christian because he let so many people go in the first he kicked people out of the team. I'm like, bro,
what?
When you have a 1-11 roster, if you keep that same roster, what do you think you're going to be next year?
I'm just saying, like, I know more about that team than anybody. I talked to it. I gave them a speech in the only game they won all year. And it was, with the exception of maybe 4 or 5 offensive linemen that all went and started other places, and Jordan Tyson, it was maybe the worst roster I've ever seen. And it was just, no offense to Coach Sanford and all the men that were up there not trying to pull punches. The scores were the scores. Yeah. It was it was as low as you could get as a proud program. So I don't know what Coach Prime's supposed to do. What is he just supposed to walk in and be like, I'm here to this isn't Noah's Ark, bro. He's here to win football games.
Right. And it's a part of it. Like you think about every other roster in college football. When you're not good, what do you have to do to get good? You got to get players. I don't care what
you have to turn over.
Yeah, you got to turn them over. So at the end of the day, when you have an overhaul like that and you bring in your new guys and you bring in guys who can do specific things, every year it gets a little bit better. So now you look at from 1-11 to 4-8. Now you look at 9-3. Now look at that roster. Yes, you lose some of the top end talent, but how do you replace a really great guy? You bring in multiple good guys. So now across the board, the competition in practice is better. The culture is better because everybody is talented and you're not looking at one guy. One guy can't break your roster. Think about this. Remember, like back in the day, when you had one guy who was this much better than everybody else on the roster, the entire roster followed what that guy did. So if that guy didn't want to practice hard, then nobody practiced hard because everybody respected the talent. When everybody on that team is equally talented, and you may have some peaks and some valleys, but you have basically the same amount of talent where everybody can play ball, then one guy, no matter how good you are, cannot break that culture. And I think it's important for you to top grade your roster every year. You're always looking for ways to get better because if you want to compete with the SEC, if you think Kirby Smart is apologizing for letting 7, 8 starters go every year, he's not. If you can't play here, look, we're going to tell people you did a great job here, but there just wasn't a way for you to play. And I think that's fair. And so to just summarize everything, winning football looks a certain way. And when they get off the bus, it ain't just how it looks getting off the bus, it's what happens when you walk on that field. So that 1-11 team has some big guys on there, but some of those big guys may not have been particularly fast. They may not have been particularly aggressive. Now you've got guys who play football at a championship level because, once again, Colorado was a tiebreaker away from playing in the Big 12 championship. So if that's what you consider, like in your second year, if you're already there, I think that Colorado, especially with the way that they recruit, they are set up to be a power in the Big 12 for years to come.
All right, last question, and then we'll get you out of here because I forgot about this one because I know you know this kid so well. All right, Juju is 17. He went up a year to get out of high school, and he's early enrolling. I'm not saying the man can't do it because this game is all about proving it, right? And I don't care how old you are. When you're special, you're special. Mm-hmm. You think he walks in? A lot of Colorado country seems to think this kid is going to walk in and it's going to be pick up where Shedeur left off, and we're rolling. I think that maybe it's a little bit harder than that at the quarterback position, which is why they're bringing in the Liberty kid potentially. Where do you stand on all this knowing Juju better than anybody?
I think he's capable, but he still has to prove it. You have to see it, and you would be irresponsible to bring in a 17-year-old and expect them to lead guys who have kids without proving it on the field. You can't hand that over. He has to go out and win it because if you hand it to him, just like with anything else in the world, nobody respects anything that you didn't earn. So if something is just handed to you, how are you going to command a locker room? How are you going to tell a 23 or a 24-year-old guy who's running around, hey man, bro, get your S together if you haven't proven it on the field? So I think you have to give him the opportunity to beat somebody out who does have experience. If he beats somebody out, whoever they bring in, whether it be Salter or someone else, if you beat them out, there's a certain level of respect because you can't beat anybody out without the players knowing that you're the best option as well. Because anytime, anybody who's played any sport, whether it be daddy ball or whether it be someone who has some type of political, whatever it is, the politics that go along with playing time, if somebody doesn't earn it, they have the worst experience on the team.
Oh, it's terrible.
Everybody knows it. And I hate it for the kids that have to go out and play because their dad's the coach and he may not be the best option because everybody is going to resent you. And I don't think Colorado knows enough to not set him up in that position. So do I think he can do it? Absolutely. But does he have to earn it? For sure.